Right before the servers went down last night, I saw something really interesting. There was a level 10 PvP fight club going around, and there was this one druid who basically buffed himself with all the wards, bark, abundance, the whole 9 yards, and fought this guy and won. But me and some other people noticed that he had instrument buffs on, so we called out that, the guy cheated, because he could only buff yourself with an instrument if you have it on a separate alt, and if you don't buff yourself, then it's not really fair. So right before the servers went down, he showed us, look, I can buff myself, and he did it. So immediately after the servers went back up, I tried a whole bunch of different things to try and make this work. So let's start with the first thing. You see that we have this passive buff on from using the horn, but if we use the skill resists itself and just the passive is on. We don't actually retain the buff. But then I saw that the guy had only bagpipes and drums on him, so I was like, maybe it's something that's only with these instruments, because it's very obvious the warhorn didn't work and he didn't have the warhorn buff on. So I'll show you what happened when I tried that. So the skill didn't resist, but look at that real closely. I'll pause the frame for you. For a split second, we had both of the buffs active at once. So I was thinking, maybe if I switch off the bagpipes at the right moment, we'll keep the buff, because you can't switch weapons when you're charging stuff. It just doesn't work. You can't equip that now. They patched that out a while ago, because people were using it to exploit using a spear for a sneaky attack or rupture and things like that by changing weapons mid-cast. So we'll try this out. And it didn't work. It didn't let us switch off the bagpipes until after we already casted it. So after that I was like, maybe it's the charging animation that doesn't allow us to switch weapons while we're casting. And now it makes sense, because the charging animation is the only time where you can't switch weapons. So we'll give that a go. We'll cast it, hit the kite, and then go to a trident. And it didn't work. So at that point, I was running out of ideas. I didn't know what to do. So as a last resort, I tried one last tactic. My idea was that you can't switch weapons when charging, and that's true. But what about unequipping weapons? Would that work? Well, we'll try it. So we will try this real quick. And you see, the timing is really rough on it, because you have to go from that cast to your inventory and immediately take off the item, which is hard to do, especially if you have as many items as I do, because that lags the game and further stalls it. So I had the bright idea. I was like, what if I queued the skill instead, which will give me more time? Because you know how you can cast one skill and then set a second one up to be ready? Well, that's what we're going to try now. We're going to try and go from Protective Stance to the Warhorn to give us slightly more time to pull this off. So, Stance, Warhorn, jump into the inventory, take that off. And it works. I have my trident, everything, bear, and I buffed myself. And yeah, it even stacks with kites, so you can have an insane amount of health. But that's not the only thing you can do. You can put on other buffs too, if you're fast enough. But the problem is, Resplendent Bagpipes and Drums, I'm not sure if the other Ostra versions have this effect or not, but they cast and cool down extra fast. So you have to be really quick with this, or else it won't work. Way less give for any error. So we'll try it real quick. Stance, come on, jump quick. And we got the buff. So we have like 1,000 evade everything almost. Really OP for a level 60. But you can do this with any of the 6 instruments. Only 3 are really viable for dueling, because you got the 15% health, 500 evade all, 100 armor. There's 15% energy too, but that's not really going to help you much. But this is definitely a breakthrough in dueling, because you can have 30% more health, and 100 armor, 500 evade all at the same time. Especially with low levels, with the evades and armor, that's really great. High levels with the HP. Aside from dueling, you might find use of it for lixing, because you can have 5 minutes of being OP during your licks. Maybe if you're waiting for a boss, you could put the instrument buffs on yourself while you're waiting. Tanking, it might not see that much use because it's only the first 5 minutes, so it would be more helpful during rage or something. But yeah, definitely useful, definitely breakthrough, and do I think it's an exploit? Not really, because it's something you could have done before, but you just would have needed 2 devices to do. But I definitely wanted to get this information out there, because if somebody's using it against you in PvP, you shouldn't have that unfair disadvantage placed on you. You should be able to know how to do it yourself, because no one should be held back from information. And I hope this can help your PvP enthusiasts out there. It's definitely a lot of fun, and it made Lava Lord be able to kill 160s and 170s at 60, because of his newly found 4,500 health. It's good stuff.